welcome everyone to our webinar. We're going to wait for a few more people to get signed up here. We got
everybody's starting to fill in now.
Yeah, we got a few people filling in and getting on board with us, so we'll wait just a little bit, maybe one more minute to let everyone get logged in and get their windows situated.
And I think a lot of our people are signed up just to receive the recording.
Yes, okay, so yeah.
I think we're safe to start. We're about 1 minute past.
Cool. All right. Well, welcome again everyone to our webinar, Doing Business with India. We're going to have a question and answer seminar following the presentation. So this is definitely an interactive webinar. We want you guys to participate and stay involved as much as you can. And we're here to answer your questions. So please definitely submit your questions in the beginning, in the middle, near the end, as much as you can. If we don't have enough time to answer all the questions, we will get them answered by email and send you your answer after the webinar. We'll try to answer as many as we can during the process. And you also find the Q&A button at the top or bottom of your screen, depending on how you've situated it. You can start submitting them right now. You can even submit them anonymously if you'd like, and so that we can just receive them in our list. While you're submitting your questions, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Scarborough for a minute, tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do. We're a full-service international and domestic logistics provider with a big emphasis in customs brokering since 1984. We were headquartered here in the heart of America in Kansas City, but we do have offices, Scarborough offices throughout our nation, and we also have a wide range of close partners throughout our globe, much like who I'm about to introduce. One of our close partners in India, or our only close partner in India, is Blue Moon Shipping, also known as Atlas Moon Shipping. And we're excited to have as our guest speaker today, Shivendra. He's one of their leaders there and in charge of their business development. We're excited to learn about India. So Shivendra, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks a lot, Chad. Good morning to all. Can you hear me, Chad?
Yes, I can hear you quite well, and you're coming through greatly. So you let us know if we'll try to keep the presentation going as you're talking, but if we need to skip ahead or go back in a slide, let us know.
Right. Well, like we know, India is a large country with a very large population too. And over the years, there has been a lot of growth in India infrastructure. There has been a lot of foreign investments there. The recent government has also changed, and now a lot of things are being produced in India. In fact, there has been incentives by the government that for producing things, so we are getting a lot of imports of equipment and manufacturing, machineries into India now. The growth rate last year was good. In fact, one of the few countries where it was, almost 8% last year. This year, again, we are expecting a similar growth. Unemployment is still there. The figures are there. You can see that. So I think we can skip that, Chad, because the figures are there. Can we come to the next one? Sure. Taxation earlier was rather confusing in India because there was a central tax as well as the state government taxes. So there used to be some kind of duplication of taxes. Some states had a higher tax and some states had a lower tax. So the businesses were shifting from one state to another to take the advantages of a lower tax. Last July, the government implemented a GST, which is a goods and service tax, which is a kind of a standard tax, which is applied all over the country. However, this tax is varies from 18% up till 28%, and for some cases even up till 38%. That depends on the commodity. but it is a standard tax which is applicable. The accounting was slightly confusing in the beginning, but now the people have got used to it, and it is a better tax, and it was even appreciated by the World Bank, and now it has been properly implemented around the country. People are fully aware of it, and now I think we can say that it is successfully implemented here in India. Culture. India uh, has got many languages, many cultures in this country. You know, I belong to the north of India, which is the region of Delhi, and we have got 21 offices around the country. In the south, we have got 5 offices, and when I travel to the south of India, you know, I do not understand the local regional language there. I I am accompanied by my branch manager, by my sales manager, who are kind of translating for me if required. So cultures are different around the country, languages, dialects are different. However, now the business language here in India is English. People understand, they can communicate very well in English, and they can understand the business culture. All businesses here in India, normally in the big cities like Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, you know, people, they, the younger generations now, they have the understanding for business. They know the importance of communication, proper, timely, you know, communication. Meetings are more professional. The dress culture now, they go in formal suits for meetings and all that. So things have changed over the years, and now I think uh, businesses, people, professional people, they have all changed and have become more professional now, as is required in the current business environment. Yes, communication, you know, business communication now, it is very good. You know, in big towns where, you know, if you are going for a business meeting, you can expect a totally professional approach, where people are, you know, coming in to meet you, you know, in formal dresses, and they are talking professionally, they are fully educated, they can communicate well, they understand what they are talking and what are the requirements of the business. So business wise culture, it is very professional now.
Back to culture here. How does India feel about negotiations? What is the take on that?
Negotiations, well, uh, I think there are sharp negotiators, you know, for rates, but there's competition also now, and you know, there's we are competing for furniture with China, with Vietnam, so people understand that. So it's not that the things can be very high priced today in today's, you know, business environment, but for quality, people still like to take a good price, and they deliver also.
So everything is negotiable. It's good to know. What about in regards to time frame? When dealing with sales contracts or dealing with a supplier, and you're talking about ready dates or expectations of ready dates, can we expect delays, or is when given a time frame, is it very on par?
Uh, for handicrafts, furniture, yes, there are often delays here. The reason is that, you know, these are all labor intensive. For for furniture, you know, wooden furniture, there is still a lot, you know, dependence on the weather. Uh, this month end or next month July, the entire north of India is going to face, monsoon. It's going to be here. So furniture, wood, uh, it will take time for seasoning. The wood won't dry. So the furniture orders will be delayed. Now, these are things that happen here. You know, handicrafts. If there is a festival, the labor attendance is thin. So these things, delays are normally there. Only a few professional companies, are able to execute and ship on time. But normally here, the time period for a normal order is anywhere from 90 to 120 days for a handicraft order. So if the company is professional, they deliver within that time. But if it is too labor intensive, you can expect some delays. So take a margin for a small delay.
In regard to the working day, can you speak to what regions, or is it across the country? Do certain regions adhere to a 9 to 5 type workday, or do certain types of industry or certain types of or certain areas of the country, do they extend their work days and work in the evenings and on weekends as well? Can you speak to the work culture?
Achad, here the normal office times are from 9 or 9:30 to 6, Monday to Friday. Many companies work on Saturdays, half days also. Sundays is an off day here, but being in the service industry, we are available. So if there is an issue, we work on a Sunday also if we need to. But the normal working time is from Monday to Friday and Saturday half day possibly. And that is across the country.
Work culture over there, what's the value? Is there a difference in the value placed on a man in the workplace versus a woman in the workplace?
Okay, in our office here in Delhi, which is our corporate office, we have got around 95 people. And out of that, I think 30 are girls, very highly regarded, very good workers, respected highly in the office by the organization, by the owners. So in good companies, I don't think there is much of a difference. Ladies, girls, they are getting equal opportunities, and they are giving the output also, equally or if not better.
That's great to hear.
And Shavendra, can you tell us a little bit more about holidays and how many holidays there are, how long they typically are? What are your biggest holidays?
Okay. The big holidays here is Holi, Diwali, Eid, and also, by region also. Like some festival in the south of India might be a big festival there, but in the north, people don't celebrate it. So the entire south of India might be shut for 3 days, but in the north, the working is as usual. So, but nowadays, gone are the days when the entire, factories used to shut down for 3 days, 4 days, or 7 days for a holiday. We don't have that now. In India, the reason why we have 21 offices is, like you can see in the map, that different areas are hubs for different kind of commodities. Like, north, west, east, south, they have got different specialized commodity. And so these are the actual, hubs where the goods are being manufactured and exported from there or locally marketed. Like you can see, New Delhi. We have got garments, we've got handicrafts, we have got stone, rice, carpets, footwear. In the west, we have got Jaipur, Jodhpur, which is furniture, artware, handicrafts. Moradabad is they call it the brass city, where they have got artwares, brass, lamps and all. They have been exporting that for now almost 30, 40 years. So that is the kind of a specialized hub where we have the artisans, we have the craftsmen there who have been maybe the second generation, third generation, who are specialized in those kind of handicraft items. So all these different areas, these hubs, they are manufacturing places and where they are also exporting in a big way. So from south, we have got different ports where it is being shipped from there. In India, for operations, for requirements, for sales also, you have to have your locations, your offices in the various locations where the people are in contact with the customers. For operational requirements, you are in touch with the customs, you are in touch with the shipping lines there. So that is the reason why we have so many offices here in India, where in US it is a different thing. I mean, sitting at one place, you can still manage your operations in a different location. Right, Chad?
That is very correct. Yes.
Yeah, so that is still a requirement. Of course, things are changing. Maybe in 10, 15 years, remote filing may be a possibility here in India, but currently that is the reason. So the people are there, customers have the confidence that yes, we have a local office there where a customer can approach for any kind of issue, any help, any assistance. So that is the culture which India has till now, and we are following that culture of having all the offices. Came here, a lot of export of seafood and all is going from the south of India. So reefer exports and also imports have been increasing from India over the last few years now.
Okay.
Interesting.
A lot of pharmaceuticals are being exported out of India. A lot of seafood is being exported out of India. So that trade, this business has been on the rise. Incidentally, Maersk just published their last year reports, and the exports out of India has grown for all sectors, but from India to the US is the only sector where the growth has been in 2 digits. It was actually 11%.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Business opportunities. We are exporting a lot of chemicals out of Baroda. There's been an import of computers, electrical machinery. A lot of machinery is now being imported into India for, various made in India projects which the government is promoting currently. Plastic.
So how soon do you think that remote filing will happen in India?
Custom systems they have improved a lot now. We have, of course, online filing. I can sit in my office and file with the customs, for a shipping bill, for for an invoice. But still, the printouts, the people, if there's any issue, the physical presence during inspections with customs is a requirement here.
Okay.
So I would say maybe another 10, 15 years on the outside. And yes, remote filing will be a possibility here.
So walk us through, if we were to export goods into India, what is the India customs process like, and how long does that typically take to go through customs?
You are talking about an export from US, that means an import into India?
Correct.
Okay. Imports into India, there are requirements, document requirements and all. First thing, we first have to see what is the commodity, whether it is a restricted item in India or not. That keeps on changing, but you can refer to the customs book and we can let you know if it is a free item which can be imported into India. Then if we are not talking about a dangerous goods, or if it's a normal commodity, there on the basis of the item we can determine what is the customs duty for that item, for the import, and what are the documentation requirements.
So do you have a list, or is there a way to find out the list of restricted goods or goods that are allowed to be brought in?
Chad, I would suggest that we do it on a case-to-case basis, because the list can be big.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the thing is that it keeps on changing also.
Okay.
Depending on the requirements and all of the government from time to time. So, I mean, if it is a particular item, my suggestion would be that we first check it out and see what are the current, government regulations, governing that kind of particular commodity, and then we go ahead with that.
Okay, makes sense. So so you're saying that this list of restricted goods is a very fluid list that changes even quite oftenly.
Yes, yes.
Right.
Although now the list is not as huge as it was a few years back, but still, for some items, like for, a machinery, machines are not restricted, but they have a lot of technical specifications that are required for the machine.
Okay.
So if you are importing any machine, you have to have the complete catalog of the machine. What are the, uses of the machine, and what is the purpose and everything. And if it is a second-hand machine, then it has to be accompanied by a chartered engineer certificate. So these are, particular specific requirements basis the commodity.
Great. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for that info.
Yeah, business opportunities. We are exporting a lot of chemicals out of Baroda. There has been an import of computers, electrical machinery. A lot of machinery is now being imported into India for, various made in India projects which the government is promoting currently. Plastics there's an export and also import of plastics. Iron and steel, yes. Now, I don't know with the tariff changes how it's going to affect, but yes, there's been a lot of iron, pipes which are being exported, and also specialized steel. There's been import also into India. Auto parts, a lot of auto parts are going in, from India, export into the US. Machinery, of course, that we have talked. Gems and precious metals. Gems are from Rajasthan, high-end, very expensive stones. They are being exported from Jaipur, which is close to Delhi, and of course Surat in Gujarat, where they are importing gems and they are being polished and cut. In fact, that is the place, that probably, they are polishing the largest number of diamonds in the world. So Surat, there's a lot of import of rough stones, which are then being polished and then sent out as exports to various countries.
Interesting. That is really cool.
Yeah, I had no idea that India was a great polisher of stones.
Yeah. Surat and Jaipur, and these are, hubs of that. Okay, few of the shows that we have here, where there's a lot of participation from various countries around the world. And so these are good places if a person is interested in imports or exports from India into the US. These are specialized. We have got handicraft fair. We have got a different kind of fairs where they are community specific, where people can visit, and the government is also promoting these trade fairs. So for a handicraft fair, I do know, which happens in the suburbs of Delhi every year. So the government is also paying for the tickets, for the flight tickets of the buyers who are visiting from various places, making all arrangements for the stay so that they can come and see the various uh, exporters who are showcasing their articles, and for you know exports and for placing orders. So these are uh, you know specific trade shows where a lot of opportunities are there for people to see and you know are judged for themselves as to what kind of products are being showcased and which are of interest to them. These are, of course, the ports and airports. International airports, now we have got a lot. These are all which are listed are the international airports, and the ocean ports. Like from the south of India, we have got the main ports, which are Visakhapatnam, Chennai, Tuticorin, Ennore. From on east, we have got Calcutta, which also incidentally is the main port for Nepal, which is landlocked. So all the ocean cargo for Nepal is shipped into Calcutta and out of Calcutta, for exports. And of course, for the north and west, we have got JNPT, Kandla, Mumbai ports. So these are the major. Now the infrastructure, there has been a huge improvement in the infrastructure in India. Now the ports have improved a lot. The airports, in fact, Delhi airport is now for the last 4 years has been judged as the best airport for domestic passenger traffic, around the world. Strongly competing with the Singapore airport.
Shivendra,
So basically all cargo that ships out of the north of India, including Delhi, that either gets railed out to a Nhava JNPT port or to Mundra port, which is also in the state of Gujarat. So the mainline vessels, they touch both these ports and it's shipped out of there.
all right. Is Mumbai and Nhava Sheva considered the same port, or are they the same port?
Okay. Mumbai is, of course, the town, where earlier they had the Mumbai port, which is still there, but now it has come inside the town. So now that port is mainly being used for break bulk vessels. But JNPT, which is also in the town of Mumbai, is the port which is being mainly used for cargo vessels. So all the containerized traffic which is being shipped out of Mumbai, almost 99% is being shipped out of JNPT port.
Okay. And that's JNPT. JNPT is considered Nhava Sheva in regards.
Yes. Jawaharlal Nehru Port.
That's great. That's good to know, because a lot of times we have customers that are being instructed to ship to a certain port, like Nhava Sheva or JNPT, and or Mumbai, not realizing that there's a cultural difference about the same city at just different ports. So that's good for their customers to get.
Absolutely.
Next slide here. A lot of our customers are always asking which Incoterm is best going from the USA to India, and we've definitely we prefer that we prefer our customers to choose two of the most commonly used Incoterms of CFR or DAP. Those seem to be most advantageous. Sometimes the easiest to navigate, considering CFR, we go just up to the port in India. So whatever port that's being defined in your sales contracts by your final recipient, we can choose CFR up just up the port, or if they need it all the way to the door, we can choose DAP. Can you kind of describe some of the differences between those two, Shivendra? As you're seeing when they come into India, do you see a lot of more customers choosing DAP versus CFR, or vice versa?
I think it is better that we let the consignee here, handle the customs and the duty part. From the seller's point of view, if it is coming as an export from US into India, because of the various differences, because of the various technicalities in the customs and duty structures, sometimes the sellers are not fully aware of the situation here and of the costs, and then later on, sometimes the cost comes as a surprise for them on the duties and the taxes.
So you're saying that a lot of times, depending on the customs process, the American shipper could run into some either delays or fines or extra taxes that may not need to be paid if they do the situation like the Indian customs.
Yeah, because sometimes additional documentation is required, which the consignee here is not in a position to supply, and then due to that, sometimes higher taxes or duties are imposed.
Okay, great. And that follows along with what we're telling our customers as well, that it's better to let the people in those countries that are very comfortable dealing with the customs in order to avoid losing taxes. So that's good common knowledge.
Right.
How about from India to the USA?
And these Incoterms are pretty much what we always suggest U.S. importers to use. We always suggest them to use ex-works or FOB terms. And these Incoterms are pretty much what we always suggest U.S. importers to use. We always suggest them to use ex-works or FOB terms.
In regard to dangerous good restrictions for imports into India, what documentation is required to ship dangerous goods into India?
Dangerous goods, it depends on the class and all. Again, you first have to see on the restriction list whether it is an open item, and certifications, if all are there. Chad, these are quite specific. If you can give me a kind of a list of commodities of dangerous goods, maybe I can come up with the proper documentation requirements for these.
Great.
But dangerous goods, the process and the procedure is a lot more tedious than it is for the normal commodity.
Okay.
For example, if it is medicine, the certification of the Indian Medical Council, that is required. If required, they might go in for a lab testing. So these are specific requirements commodity wise.
So we can just tell our clients at this point in time, if they've got any questions about the regulations or restrictions and that type of thing, please send us an email with the commodity description and what it is that you're wanting to do, and we will work on that on a case-by-case scenario.
Do's and don'ts when vetting a supplier in India. I heard you should look up Google Map for their physical address and not rely on the email.
I suggest that we take the normal precautions, like see what, who are their customers, what type of products are they exporting, how long have they been in business, what kind of a setup do they have, you know, like from many customers, I have received inquiries where I have received requests where people want me to send, people from one of our offices to visit a supplier's factory and just, kind of judge for ourselves as to what kind of a setup they have there, you know. So if you know their customer base, you can estimate as to what kind of, merchandise, what kind of a reputation they have for export.
That's great. That's great information. What current rules and regulations do I need to know in regard to exporting out of the U.S. or importing into India?
Importing into India. Okay, these are, you want to understand on the documentation requirements?
Yes. Can you speak to me more of the documentation requirements, and if there's any? I know we had briefly thrown out some information offline about the import-export code number. Can you speak to that and kind of how that plays into the export documentation process?
Okay, yeah. This is the IEC number. In India, any exporter or an importer needs to have a valid IEC number, which is the export-import number. So we as a forwarder, we don't have it, but any importer or exporter, the actual user of goods, he needs to have it. So whenever you are exporting from US into India, any commodity, you have to make sure that that your customer or the importer here in India has got an IEC number, and that needs to be put in the documents which you are assigning for the shipment, in the invoice, in the bill of lading. Also, here, before a shipment comes, at least 72 hours prior to that, you have to file the documents with the customs. Failing which, there are huge penalties by the customs. So make sure that all your documents for the shipment are sent to India, to the counterpart or to the people who need to do the filing here.
Shivendra, that's great information. And can you give us an example of a penalty for not filing or not being able to file those documents, what the customs levies against you, or what kind of penalties the importer pays?
That depends. It's not a fixed penalty like an AMS default or anything. It depends on the cargo, on the delay that has happened. Basically, the IGM needs to be filed before the vessel berths here. The shipping line requires 72 hours prior all documents with them. So if you do not give the documents, then the IGM is filed as per whatever information the liner has with them. And after that, then for the clearance, you have to amend that IGM filing with customs, which is a very time-consuming process. So it eats up on all the free time that you have there on the container. And of course, the customs penalties and the delays, that costs a lot of money. The penalties can be anything. It can be from, say, $500 up till $5,000, depending.
That's good to know. We will definitely make sure that we adhere to those rules and send you documents early. Now, in regards to documents, especially with exports into India, exports from the U.S. into India, we've had shipments that require originals, and we've had shipments that can be express release or emailed the documents. Can you give us an example or situations of why one is needed over the other?
The shipping line documents, they can come as an express release, not a requirement for originals. And the invoice packing list also, normally originals, it's always better to send original copies, but you can also do clearance on photocopies or faxed copies.
And can you tell us why one would be needed over the other? Like, is it dependent upon the consignee and what they are needing to provide to customs, or is it dependent upon the commodity?
It is dependent, I think, on the commodity. But Chad, let me reconfirm on that. This is, I think, perhaps one of the questions on which I can get back to you with more details over email.
That's great. We can send those requests in per commodity and per customer situation. Does India have a published tariff ruling similar to how the U.S. custom binding rulings or the EU BTI? Do they have a place where shippers can look up these tariff rulings?
Yes. We can check from the HTS numbers also. There is a book of tariff here. So for all import duties and all, you can check from the book, and the items and the commodities are properly classified, and you can check on the cost, on the duties, on the taxes applicable on that commodity. And of course, restrictions also, if they are there for that particular commodity, that can be ascertained from that.
What are the responsibilities of the Indian importer? I know that's a very broad question, but can you maybe, as someone who deals or has dealt with the Indian customs in your business, can you give us an example of what an Indian importer goes through, or the process they traverse through?
Do you want it from the ordering stage?
Say that one more time.
Doing it from the origin stage.
Ordering the goods from the US or from any other country, you want it from that stage, or once the cargo arrives into India?
Once the cargo arrives into India and you're needing the documents, kind of start from there.
Okay, fine. The importer, of course, he's aware that the goods are coming, so he's tracking that, and he files the IGM with the shipping line prior to the arrival of the cargo, 72 hours prior to that. And then once the goods arrive at the required location, customs location where he's planning his custom clearance, then his broker, with all the documents required, he files the shipping bill for the import. He checks the tariff on the items, and once the shipping bill is filed, the duty amount is that is clearly mentioned as to what is the applicable duty that needs to be paid on the goods. Then the importer, he pays that duty through a bank, and the receipt is given to customs at the time, and after that the customs examination process starts. So here the documents, like for machinery, they require the catalog, the uses of the machine, all details, technical specifications. So that is the time when all these requirements of documents are required by the customs. And, so the importer, as and when, required, he has to furnish the details to customs and get his, goods examined and custom cleared.
One of the questions is there any specific website that combines all manufacturing companies in India that can assist in anybody that wants to buy or sell in India? And also with that question, I wanted to know, what is your opinion about some sites that do offer wholesale products like that, like SaleWho, Alibaba India, or TradeIndia.com? So what are your thoughts about those, and is there any other website that you would suggest that U.S. Buyers may want to go to as a reference?
For small purchases, Kim, I think you are looking at bulk purchases, right? For imports.
I think it's we've got large, like a lot of our client base. We service clients that range from small mom and pop shops that are starting to sell out on Amazon or from their own online stores or their shops, to very large distributors and wholesalers and retailers. So I think it's a very broad spectrum, and we're looking at different size manufacturers that maybe is our website that hosts those types of leads to call on.
Okay. We have a couple of sites here. My colleague, who's here with me, he just, prompted me on that. We have got Just Dial and India Mart. These two sites, they can give you the details of all manufacturers of different commodities, different products.
Perfect. Shavendra, I will get those links from you and I will send those out to everybody that's attended the webinar, because I think those would be great references. And then on top of that, what is your guys' experience with, because Alibaba is so popular right now in the US with a lot of new importers, especially Alibaba China. What is your guys' experience with that in India, and do you have any do's or don'ts when dealing with Alibaba India or Salehu or TradeIndia.com?
Alibaba was doing quite well a couple of years back, but now I don't think they are commanding such a good market now. Now I think, Amazon is doing pretty well. We have got Flipkart, which is also a good site here in India. And Alibaba is also there, but they are not doing as well as they were a couple of years back.
I've had a couple questions during our webinar, also a couple questions before that I'd kind of like to roll into, not an advertisement, but a reason of why we deal so closely with partners like you across the globe, especially in India, why we deal with you, why Scarborough has such a close relationship with you. We had one of our attendees describe a situation where they've selected different suppliers in India, and they've had two different types of service levels. One time the supplier sent product early, the other one took multiple months to get it to them. And so their question was kind of, what is the best way to handle the initiation of a purchase when using a forwarder like Scarborough and Blue Moon? Also, along with that question, what is kind of the best way for a company to enter this market, in India? Can you speak to the benefits of Blue Moon helping our customers interact and acquire their shipments from their suppliers in India?
Okay, Chad. Yeah, okay. That's a good question here. We, because of our offices in the various locations where we have got local people there, so they are aware, they have their local contacts, and we can verify and check out on the locations, on the factories, which is a service which we have been doing for many of our customers, for many of our partners, and we can verify and check out the local reputation of the companies. That is one thing. Now, normally, once the order is placed with a company in India, many times we get an import log from the customer in the US as to when the orders are supposed to be handed over to us for shipment. So that's the import log where the ex-factory dates and the ship dates are clearly mentioned. So basis that, we are also following up with the shippers and updating the customers there. Through you, of course, through our partner there. For example, if it's a customer in the US, we will be interacting through you and updating them on the status of their cargo. If there is a buyer consolidation, Chad, for example, 4 or 5 suppliers are shipping to the same customer and that needs to be consolidated in a full container, that service also we are doing from all the major hubs like Chennai, Delhi, Bombay. And we have got our own warehouse where the cargo is, bought in, and then it is custom cleared and then consolidated as per the customer's requirement.
That's great information, Shivendra. Just to clarify, are you able to go out to our suppliers, our Indian suppliers for our customers, and communicate with them, or to confirm information for our for the U.S. consignees?
What kind of information about the work, the setup, that kind of information, or the order information as to what is the situation of the order execution?
Yes, I mean both in actuality, but in regards to before the order takes place, can you go out and check out the supplier to make sure it's a legit place and whatnot. But after the order, if they check out as a legit supplier, can you go out or can you communicate with the supplier to get an effective ready date? Because sometimes our consignees receive one ready date via email or via phone, but from the supplier, but sometimes you may receive something totally different from the supplier over there.
Chad, we can of course check out on the supplier and see what kind of a setup, what kind of a reputation they have, what kind of a customer base they have, that we can do. And we can also suggest suppliers for a particular commodity, like your customer there in the US, the importer, he is looking for good reputable suppliers of say handicrafts, furnitures, artwares. So we can give him and recommend reputed companies to him. But it becomes very difficult for us to check on the readiness, on the status of the order, because the shipper will not, entertain us, because we do not have the authority to go and inspect the cargo of a supplier.